Okay, good morning, everyone. We'll call the January 10th County Board meeting to order, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you all. And the minutes for January 3rd.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. And I think all the different committees.
Seems like everything worked out, huh?
It seemed like everything is where it needs to be.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
A motion by Delyden, second by Potter to approve the minutes. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The agenda for today, I do have one thing that I would like to add. Under items for consideration, we'll put item D, and it would just be the planning, scheduling of a soil and water planning session. And it would be out at the Law Enforcement Center in the classroom there, or whatever, where we've met before. So that's item D. Does anyone else have any other changes? Lee, do you have anything? Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of item D under items for consideration.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Potter, second by Delyden to approve the agenda. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consent agenda. Does anyone have anything they'd like removed for further discussion?
No, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion by Derek Vetch. I gotta get used to this. I would say Derek. Motion by Vetch, second by Delyden to approve the consent agenda. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We gotta slow down here a little bit, huh, Lee?
You're doing well.
No, okay.
Right on
9:03, I think we're close to that, Lee.
Right.
You have someone to introduce to the county board and the county, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's my pleasure to introduce to you our new Veteran Service Officer, Mr. Greg Pickard. We had the opportunity to meet yesterday, was his first day, and do some orientation and get kind of the lay of the land. Been great getting to know you, an Air Force veteran for, I believe, 20 plus years.
Yes, sir.
I know he's traveled quite a bit of the world and very interesting background both, and some things you probably can't talk about, otherwise you'd have to kill me.
Or I could go to jail.
So, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Did you want to say a few words, Greg?
Yeah, I'm just happy to be here, help the veterans or whatever. I'm really excited about being here. I spent 20 years active duty, Air Force, intelligence, career field, and then I spent the last 13 years as a defense contractor working in the IT industry. And so I'm happy to be rooted in Minnesota now and do all I can to help all our veterans, not just Wright County, but anywhere I can all across the state.
Like that.
Well, welcome to working for the Wright County. Now we just need to get you to move to the Wright County. Instead of living in that other county.
You have to talk to the boss. Thank you, gentlemen.
Well, hope you're up to the challenge.
I hope so.
Okay, thank you and welcome aboard, Greg.
Oh, hey, one quick question.
Oh, yeah.
When do you think those files will be out of there?
What time is it?
Wednesday at noon?
Close.
Just don't say
Soon.
which Wednesday and you'll be
Soon,
fine.
right, yeah, it'll be a Wednesday.
Thank you much. And I understand Bob is not in today. Lee, are you going to fill in for Bob or who?
That young lady there?
Yeah, I think we're kind of going to fill in by committee, so.
Okay.
Tammy, you want to?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners.
Morning.
Yes, I apologize, Bob is out today. So we have a few things that are on the agenda for this morning. The first item is to approve an engagement letter with the Office of the State Auditor for the 2016 audit.
And then, Lee, is that something that do we want to work on that today? Or, I mean, because Christine's out and I don't know if Bob was gonna talk to that further, or,
I don't think there's a whole lot of commentary with it. As you know, OSA did not release us for the 2016 audit, so we do have to do our audit with them. So I think we could act on that today,
okay.
if you'd
But
like.
basically, we're just saying that we wanna
We-
go with our own auditor for 17.
We're acknowledging that we have to go with the state auditor for 16, but they have been made aware already that we are planning when we are
Okay.
able to go with a private firm.
All right, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the engagement letter with the OSA for the 2016 audit.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Delight and second by Vetch. Any discussion from the board?
Commissioner Potter, you said that there was a little snippet in the Minneapolis Trib today regarding
Yes,
the
Mr.
auditor?
Chair and Commissioner Delyden. In the Star Tribune today, this morning, Rebecca Otto announced that she's running for governor, and within the article, it showed that her office has spent over $250,000 in this.
On this
And she's
already.
doing it based on a principle that she believes in. So it's interesting reading for anybody that picks up that article and sees some of the things that she's been tied in. It's probably going to come back to haunt her if she keeps campaigning. But it was in there front and center today, so it's kind of one of those things you kind of, and that's where I would appeal to Commissioner Burrell to write an editorial, since he seems to articulate on things like that very well.
She's certainly not doing anything to benefit our county or our
taxpayer
taxpayers.
citizen of the
and-
whole state.
And the whole state, as far as that goes.
You know, and I think once we get the final amount that our county and Becker County had to pay to finish this whole thing off, I agree, the letter should be written.
Yeah. All right, well, that's not on the agenda right now. This one is, so do we, any further discussion? We'll call this for a vote. We got the motion and second already,
Yes, you
correct?
do.
Yep. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous, so.
All right, the second item on the agenda is to approve an engagement letter with Clifton Larson Allen for the 2016 compilation of services. What we've used with the 2015 audit, even though we had been with the Office of the State Auditor, we continue to use Clifton Larson Allen to handle our financial statements. And so we are looking to do the same for 2016. And as Bob noted on the resolution as well, now that we have Lindsay Meyer in our office, we are hoping to mitigate some of the expenses that will likely not need this additional service in the future. We're hoping to do more in our office to make it less work for Clifton Larson Allen to do the financial statements, so.
I'll make a motion to approve a engagement letter with Clifton Larson Allen.
Second.
Motion by Delight and second by Potter. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
In this engagement letter, we want to make it noted for the public that estimated their fees to be $12,100, which I'm assuming, or I'm guessing, it'll be quite a few thousand less than half of what the state would be charging for the same service. So there's the economy of doing this versus having the state do it. I mean, I think that fee that they're charging for this size county is reasonable and fair, and I don't think there's any way that the state can match this.
Correct. I know, that's exactly how Bob has felt as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Point well made. Thank you, Commissioner Potter. Anything else? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Calculations of 2017 legal paper bids.
Yes, we have the bids for 2017. It looks like we must have sent bids out to 5 different newspapers. We had 2 that came back, the Herald Journal and the Delano Herald Journal. And so the difference that I can see here with the cost per column inch for legals with the Herald Journal is 27 cents. The cost per column inch for legals with the Delano Herald Journal is $3.50. And to compare last year, we went with the Herald Journal. They were at 37 cents, so it has dropped down 10 cents.
Well, we thank them for that, huh?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve Herald Journal as our legal paper.
Motion by Delighten,
I'll second that.
second by Potter. Any further discussion? just that I think the Herald Journal they're doing a service to the whole county by keeping the costs down on that. They've done it for years, ever since we've been on the board anyway, so.
Yeah, I do miss Ivan's smiling face, though.
Yeah, Ivan, maybe you'd stop by sometime and
But
say
I
hi.
guess, that was our fault since we decided to go with live broadcast.
Yeah, so, okay, sounds good. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. One more there.
Yes, the last thing that we have is that there is an ice fishing derby event on Saturday, February 4th. That actually should say 2017 on the request for board action, if you see that paperwork. On Maple Lake, it's located in Maple Lake Township, and the application has been approved by the Wright County Sheriff, Wright County Attorney, and by the Town Board of Maple Lake.
That, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the temporary liquor license for Maple Lake Lake Property Association for the fishing contest on February 4th.
I'll second that.
Okay, we'll give the motion to Potter, second to Vetch. Further discussion?
Yeah, last year they didn't have it because of the poor ice conditions, so I think this year they're actually gonna be able to hold it.
I think they'd be pretty safe to say they should be okay.
With that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Adam, you're up, 9:10, it's about.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
This morning, I would like to request approval for both of our senior systems engineers to attend the Cisco Live Conference that's being held June 25th through 29th in Las Vegas this year. This conference provides 5 days of really in-depth hands-on training sessions, educational sessions, and interaction with vendors. So we see it as a very unique training opportunity. And considering the amount of Cisco equipment that we have here, everything from servers to switches to firewalls and our wireless system as well, this gives them a really unique opportunity to both learn about current technology that we have, how we can expand on what we've got, and on future technologies. One of the sessions is actually covered by our Cisco learning credits that have been included with some of the purchases we've made. We did budget for this year, and so it would just be June 25th through 29th for both senior systems engineers.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the out-of-state travel request.
I'll second it.
Motion by Potter, second by Delighten. Any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
For Derek's benefit, all department heads going out of state travel need to come before the board. Even though it's in the budget, anything out of state still comes before the board, just so you know why we're doing this way.
And if this would have been like next month when it's cold here and warm in Vegas, then we would have thought twice about sending them. But since they're willing to go to Vegas in June, obviously there's got to be some educational because
The weather's probably going to be a wash.
Exactly.
a little warm down there.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Okay, any further discussion? We'll call, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Virgil Hawkins, Highway Engineer.
Notice how the managers had no interest in going to Vegas in June?
Good morning, Chairman Brown, Board of Commissioners. Today I have one item before you, and that is to request setting a Transportation Committee meeting of the whole to discuss County Highway 9 improvements. The city of Waverly has a project to redo the utilities around the lake, and we have been planning to do a pavement preservation project, and they've met recently with us at staff and would like to talk more about maybe doing additional improvements than just what they're planning with additional county funding. So I'd like to set up a meeting to talk about that.
Now is the time to get it all ironed out.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Some suggested dates are listed here on the board action form. Monday, January 23rd, late morning, or Wednesday, January 25th in the afternoon.
And we
then,
want to do this, I think Waverly is looking for something timely. So what was the first one you had, Virgil?
Monday, January 23rd at 10:30 a.m.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
That afternoon, we have Health and Human Service, so we'd be here anyway.
Okay,
And then, so it is, I'd make a motion to set January 23rd at 10:30 a.m. for our Transportation Committee meeting as a whole.
I'll second it.
okay, motion by Potter, second by Delight, for, set the meeting for 10:30, January 23rd. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, thank you, Virgil.
Thank you.
And 9:15, Sunny Hess.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I would like to request approval for several policy revisions as reviewed and recommended by the County Negotiations Committee. I would like to make note that majority of these revisions were initiated by the county as part of negotiations, but have proved to be effective in reaching some tentative agreements with a couple of our bargaining units. We start with the first policy recommendation. It's Policy 104 Compensation Plan. The language changes are primarily related to 10407 promotions. What we're looking at adding is language allowing, at the sole discretion of the employer, the county coordinator and/or HR director to approve a pay adjustment that is a salary increase of up to and including 12% over the employee's current base pay. That's consistent with our policy for new hires and the ability to bring new hires in up to 12% of the minimum of the range.
And Sunny, what prompted this? What brings it up, I guess, you know?
We feel that it will provide more consistency in the way that we are able to be somewhat flexible with our new employees coming into the county related to people being promoted from one classification to another.
If we can hire somebody from the outside in at a higher rate, don't you think the people that are currently employed here should have that? Otherwise, they could quit and then apply for the job and get a better.
The only thing, though, then why do we even, you know, have anything out there now? Why, you know, I mean, we're not going to live by it. We have a set structure, and then we change it, you know?
No, this is a way to keep good employees.
So the policy would still read that the 4% is the general promotion increase, but it allows for those exceptions and situations where we have somebody that has significant experience to bring to that position, like we take into consideration for new employees.
And then would that come to the board?
What the policy is requesting is that Lee and I would have the discretion to go up to that 12% like we do right now with new employees.
I'll make a motion to approve the policy 104 compensation plan.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Delight and second by Vetch. Is this something that we should also, I mean, maybe should it have gone to the Personnel Committee at all?
We talked about that. The Personnel Committee is the same members as the Negotiation Committee. It's something that was brought up as part of negotiations and agreed on by that committee.
I read this as kind of trying to uniform out most of it. It's kind of more housekeeping than it is kind of a major change is kind of how I'm looking at it. It kind of streamlines and it just speeds up the process on some of the stuff. Because more often than not, it seems like historically, if these requests were asked for, most of the time they were granted anyways in the past, isn't that?
Well, with promotions, we've stuck pretty firmly to the 4% increase because we didn't have that flexibility. But we have had situations where it has sometimes caused issues with people being promoted into a higher level position and then other employees that report to that position earning more than where that person's being promoted in. So,
But like historically, if the request for like new hires at that 12, we
Right.
historically have approved
New
them.
hires
This is
we
just trying
have.
to make the
it's just trying to make it consistent between the
consistent,
two.
yep.
And also, it's trying to make things fair. We can hire somebody at 12% higher. Current employees,
Why can't we retain one?
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, if it was regarding attorneys, that's a different situation. I had to get that in there, Greg.
Mr.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A past employee, Randy DeMarais, is a good example why we should be doing this. He, on a couple occasions, turned down being the assessor because he'd be taking a pay cut from what he was doing, where he was stayed at. And if you talk with him, you'll find out his frustration is, I'm not going to take a pay cut to take the promotion. And that was part of the frustration. I know we've had this talks over the past 4 years in different scenarios on why this needs to be cleaned up a little bit, make it a little bit more consistent, and to try to make it so we're not over here on one thing and over here on another thing. To me, I think it's a good direction to go in and make for better consistency on how we approach employees, hires, external and internal.
It just seems to me like that everything we're doing is, every employee now is gonna come up. I mean, you bring up one instance, so then we change the policy over that, and I guess I'd like to have somebody keep track how many of these get 12%, because I think that's gonna be the new norm now, and that's the way government works, and I'm opposed to it. I guess I would say if they needed to do that, at some point, the board would always be able to take action. You know, like even on Randy's case there, the board could have taken action if they chose to do it.
No, there was no policy.
But the board could always take action even outside of a policy.
Do you want
Do
to
have
amend
some-
it then, and amend it and just having it come before the board and not have it by the discretion of the HR director and?
Mr. Chair, I call the question.
Well,
Needs vote.
okay, that's a request for a call to question. Is there a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, that takes a 2/3 vote.
So what's the motion here? I guess I.
Basically, we're going to call the question, we're going to vote on this now instead of continuing talking,
Okay.
because I think it's been hatched over enough.
Yep. I'm
Okay.
in favor of voting, so.
Okay, we'll go ahead, call the question. All in favor of calling it to question? Say aye.
Call the question is just vote.
No, you don't vote on that. Yeah, you do. Yep. Okay, that's good enough. Okay, we'll go ahead and, we'll,
We
all
have
in
a motion
favor,
and a second
all in
on the
favor of the
floor, Mr.
motion, say aye.
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 All opposed, say aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-1.
The second policy revision is Policy 206, Performance Evaluations. In this revision, we are looking at changing the process that we use for part-time evaluations and increases. Currently, if we have a 0.5 FTE, their evaluation happens every 2 years. What we're looking at doing is still evaluating all of our part-time staff on an annual basis, but the increase amount would be prorated based on their FTE. So a half-time employee will get an evaluation every year, but would get half of the increase amount each year, instead of only evaluating people every 2 years and getting increases every 2 years.
So it's another way to get more money. for
Well,
the
it's another
employees.
way to make sure that we're providing performance evaluation and information to our staff.
Just coming up with great ways to keep our employees as long
Well,
as
if I
we
read
keep
this,
raising the money.
Chair, can I have a second?
Go ahead.
So if I read it correctly, you're still getting the same amount of money over a 2-year period, you're just breaking it up into, half the time.
Right.
So it's really no new money, it's just when we disperse it, or when they get evaluated for it.
And what's wrong with the system now, the way it is?
We've actually had some issues, grievances filed from employees on this issue. But honestly, I feel like it is in our best interest as the county to be evaluating our employees on a regular basis. I also think that it's important that we recognize the contribution that the part-time employees are making to the county on an annual basis, just like we do our full-time employees.
And we're not talking a lot of employees either.
No, I want to say
And then
there's
Sunny,
10 to
I mean, I
15.
could say this for all of these changes that are recommended here today, but do these go to any committee? How come?
The negotiation committee.
To the which one?
The negotiation committee,
Okay, so,
they were discussed in
and they made
length.
this recommendation. Who's on negotiation? Chris and?
I am.
And you made this recommendation too? Okay, well, that's,
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the performance evaluation amendments to the policy.
I'll second that.
that's fine. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The next policy revision is 310 vacation donation. The first thing is to add PTO to that, so that employees that are now on PTO have the ability to donate PTO. The other revision is revising the policy. Right now, it indicates Wright County permits non-union employees to donate, which then requires anytime a union member wishes to donate, we bring that to the board for signature through a memorandum of agreement. We're looking at getting rid of the memorandums of agreement so that if union employees or non-union employees want to donate time, any one of them have that possibility. It reduces the amount of possible bringing private information to a public meeting.
I'll make a motion to adopt the, adding the PTO in the all employees.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Vetch, second by Delight. And any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And on a side note of this one, the unions love this because they don't have to screw around with these MOAs all the time, or MOUs all the time.
Right.
This is gonna save time.
The next policy is 506, business-related expense reimbursement. Primary changes are on page 3, related to commuter train or bus reimbursement, basically allowing employees reimbursement for the actual cost of utilizing a commuter train or bus transportation. We have had some people who may have a conference in the cities, and instead of driving their personal vehicle, they are taking a commuter train. And so we're allowing reimbursement for that cost. The other addition is the language that the county will not reimburse for traffic violations such as parking tickets, speeding tickets incurred by an employee.
Hopefully, we haven't been doing that all along, have we?
That's why it never hurts to get things clarified. And Sonny tried to get one through the other day, but we said no. I'll make a motion to approve the 506 business-related expense reimbursement.
Second.
Motion by Delight, second by Potter. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The last policy revision is related to policy 508, work schedule. Basically, under the flex time portion, 50803, we are adding some ability or flexibility for the department heads to schedule employees to work an 8 or 10-hour shift between the hours of 6 and 6 without approval for the county board. However, that can't be an ongoing regular flex schedule. Any regular schedules of 5 days a week, or any regular schedules that deviate from the 5 days a week, would have to come to the board for approval.
Now, the only change really on this one is this was in policy as 8, and we're just.
We're adding it up to the 10.
Because there are some positions in the county that have 10-hour shifts.
Right. Yeah, and there may be a situation, I'll use IT department as an example. There may be a situation where they've got a project going on and it would be beneficial to be able to schedule, IT staff for 410s in a particular week for a project. So it allows the department head to make those decisions.
But we're not going to, but it can't be ongoing for more than, do we need to state in there how long they can do that change without having to come to the board?
Well, it's just not permanent, so.
It's just not permanent,
not
so whatever we
permanent.
deem as not permanent is.
Right.
Okay.
How long is not permanent?
That's the reason I was asking.
That's a good, but it's a good question, so.
Yeah. We didn't discuss how we would define not permanent. I guess I would take it on a case-by-case basis depending on what the project is. I mean, if you've got a project that's running over the course of you're rolling some IT project out over the course of 2 months, if that's what's going to benefit the county, I would say we would approve that. If it's an individual request that really has no benefit or doesn't improve the operations of the county, we may have to look at whether or not that is in the best interest.
Mr. Chair.
You go ahead, Mike.
Mr. Chair, with the work schedule and the flexibility in that, and the question was, how long can they go on with this? And I was wondering if there's a way to, within a reasonable amount of time, to let the personnel committee know if somebody's doing this, if they just so they have a note and just so you have a time frame. So if all of a sudden it seems like it's ongoing for 3-4 months, personnel committee at least has the knowledge of it.
Yep.
Going forward. Because if they're aware of it and they say it's only for a 2-week interval or 1 week or 3, whatever the case may be, they're aware of it. So it's not just a big surprise. All of a sudden they've been doing it for 4 months. How come you guys didn't know?
Yep.
Is there,
I would like to see a language of Mr. Chair.
that's what I was just gonna ask
In
for
there
from
stating
the
that it has to be
board.
reported to the personnel committee or something, so at least we have an idea that it's going on, or at least if it's more than 2 weeks period, it needs to be noted to the personnel committee.
I like that idea. I think that's an excellent idea because then.
Just to keep the checks and balances.
Well, yeah, right, because you could have, and I said I would be, you could have somebody that does it for 10 months and then February comes along and we do it for another 10 months. And it's really it could be something where it could be circumvented with the language that's here now.
Well, we can't be going to a 4-day, I just don't want to be going into a 4-day work weeks here and
I don't-
all of a sudden on Fridays, we're not doing nobody can get any services from the county.
Well, I think Sonny's right too. There's some things where it's not going to be affect customer service, but we have a whole lot of departments where that would seriously affect customer service if we shorthand somebody.
And that was some of the discussion that we had, is that, our department heads need to know how that schedule change, if it's going to impact customer service or the normal operations of the department. And if
Would you
it
be
is,
opposed, Sonny, to have the department head notify the personnel committee, just
Just as
that
a
a certain
notification?
employee is doing the 4 hours and an estimated time? I think that's reasonable.
yeah, I have no problem. I mean,
don't think
to me, that, I would see that as procedure, that if you go beyond 2 weeks of a flexible schedule arrangement, then you notify personnel.
That's reasonable.
Should you put that in the language
2
then?
weeks then, yeah.
Be added in?
I would add it as part of procedure, not necessarily within the policy
Okay.
language.
Okay.
Then I'll make a motion to approve if we add that to the procedures for the 8 to 10 hours on the 508-03 flex time.
Motion by Vetch,
I'll second that.
second by Potter. Any further discussion? I just think that's a great idea, Derek. I'm glad you came up with it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
And then the last thing I have is to request approval for revising all personnel policies that may have reference to vacation or sick time, to be adding in the fact that we've approved PTO now. So I'm going to need to go through and review all of our policies and make sure that where we talk about just sick and vacation, we're also talking about PTO.
I'll make that motion to allow that. I don't see why that has to come back before the board for those little simple changes.
Okay. Motion by Delighten,
I'll second that. It's
second
just
by Vetch.
housekeeping.
Did we have, are we going, who's all on board with the PTO right now?
Well, so the non-union went effective January 1
It
of
did, okay.
2017. Yep. We do have 2 bargaining units that are voting it, one as part of their contract, one separate from the contract. And then I know we have possible interest of a couple more bargaining units, but we're not at a place where we've got tentative agreements with those units
So
yet.
then, and we used the numbers from our last committee meeting then? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sonny. All right, items for consideration. Schedule closed session for labor negotiations. Lee, did you want to?
Yes, I can speak to that. As you know, we are continuing negotiations with several of the groups. I think it would be wise for us to meet in a closed session to discuss negotiation strategy with the board and our labor attorney to continue forward here. I would propose the time of the 20th at 8:30 in the morning. If that would work for,
yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
Mr. Chair, that will be in conflict with I'm the chair of the Transportation Policy Infrastructure, and that happens to be the morning of the AMC Board of Directors meeting.
That's the 7W informational event as well that morning that I was intended to attend.
What were the other dates the attorney was available? I thought there was a couple of them.
Was the one that we had. Is there a possibility of a later time in that same morning that may be able to work?
Commissioner Potter, what time is that going to take you, tell you at the AMC?
Which day is that?
On that 20th, how late's that going to take you?
Well, it basically go from basically 9 in the morning until noonish, and then you're in St. Paul, so it takes a while to get back from there.
Okay. We could look at other dates. We do have some time constraints given that our next meetings with the unions are that last week of January, so it would be good for us to get something on the books prior to then.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead. Oh, sorry.
How long would this take? Is like hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours? A time block?
I would say 2 at a minimum.
It's kind of what I was thinking too.
So if we could make it at 2 o'clock on that
Would
day.
the, would
then
the
that-
afternoon, you think, work, Lee, or?
I know I'm available. I don't know about Sunny. I don't know if you are, but okay.
Mr. Chair, if that meeting was to be scheduled at 2 o'clock in that afternoon, I would have enough time to get back from that.
Derek, would that work for you too, or not?
No? Is
That
it-
one's a really tight day.
Is that, okay?
Yeah, I mean, if it has to go that way, I'll
I,
twist my arm to
this is
to
too
try and make it
important with the
happen, so.
transportation stuff here.
Lee, is there any way it could be done earlier? I suppose you have to
There
have
were no other
Frank's.
dates?
There's no other dates with the attorney prior to the 20th?
Not
But
that
he-
I had at that time.
Man, I thought
There may
this,
have been dates that worked for him, but not for everybody else.
maybe that's what it was.
The only dates that working out for you, Miss Al, Sue, Mark, and Chris, and the attorney. So that I was hoping, crossing
Hoping,
fingers,
fingers.
that it would work for the rest. And the other thing I can do is I can reach out to the attorneys, get some dates, and they send an email to find out your availability and figure out if we can.
I think that's like the only one day that was really tight on my schedule, and but like I said, if 2 o'clock is what works, I'll make it work. You
Yeah,
know?
but you've got something at 3.
Right, and it's with an entire bargaining unit.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that would, yeah.
So that's gonna be tough.
That doesn't work then anyways.
You couldn't reschedule that, I suppose.
No, because it needs, they take a vote.
Okay.
There may be some possibility to touch base with the attorney and come back with some additional dates for the 17th meeting. But again, we need to have this meeting prior to the week of the 30th. Sooner the better, and I know there's some conflicts the week of the 23rd for some of the commissioners as well, so.
We have the tour of Blue Earth County on the 19th. Is there any chance it could be in the morning of the 19th?
I believe we looked at that date and it did not work for the attorney.
What do we do, Lee?
What about the 17th? I know we had a few committee of the wholes, and I can't remember if we just kind of decided not to even look at that date, or if that date was, I can't remember. He's a busy attorney.
17th will be a full day with a board meeting and 2 committee of the wholes that day.
Yeah, I know, but, I mean, we're here, and if we can get him here.
Do like at 3 o'clock or something?
Well, it would
We'd
be,
run into
yeah,
the
like,
board meeting, it'd be a challenge, especially coming off of the 16th is wide open for me. I don't know about you guys. I think the easiest at this point might be to just touch base again with the attorney and look at some additional dates. And if all else fails, we can come back to the 17th. And maybe we'll send out some dates to the board just to get a sense of when you guys would be available.
okay. So we'll just let it go for now?
We might have to lay this one over.
Okay. Do I need a motion for that, or?
You know, one of the things we could do is, since we do have a committee of the whole of a ditch meeting, or the abatement, I mean, maybe one of those could be pushed off on the 17th.
But even that ditch meeting isn't even gonna be all that long at that.
No, once you get Charlie talking about ditches, you never know how long it's gonna be. No, you never, no, you,
Well, what we'll probably have there is Mike Young will be doing report and stuff, and that'll take some time right there, so.
but maybe that's something we can do. You know,
We'll look at
abatement
it.
or the ditch meeting. Postpone that a little bit, kick that out a little bit longer.
You want to just keep that on the
burner.
burner, yeah.
And again, I can't remember about the 17th, but I thought he might have been available, but it was,
Well, I would still say if he'd be available at 3 o'clock, I mean, yeah, it makes a full day for us, but if it works, it might be the best alternative too, so.
Well, maybe then we say 3 o'clock on the 17th, and if it doesn't work, we come back on the 17th with alternate dates.
Cancel it.
Go from there. That way we've got a meeting scheduled. We can
Yep.
post it.
I'll make a motion to go for 3 o'clock on the 17th.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Motion by Delight and second by Vetch to set the meeting at 3 o'clock
Assuming that
on the
it
17th.
works for
Yep.
everybody else's
And it'll be
schedules.
contingent on the attorney's schedule. Sonny, you can make that one, though? Okay. Got it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. All right, next on the list. The Special Committee of the Whole meeting to discuss the enforcement of the buffer law.
Mr. Chair and Board, as you know, we do have to make a determination on how we are choosing as the county to enforce the buffer law by the end of March. And depending on which way it goes, it may take more time to develop our enforcement policy. So it'd be wise to get a meeting scheduled, judging how easy the last one was to schedule. I'll try my luck again. I don't have quite as time restriction on this meeting as I do with the other, but sooner is definitely better than later.
Okay, did you have a suggested date at all?
We could look at the 24th following the board meeting as an option.
Do we want to have the attorney or ditch attorney here for that one at all? Do you think that would be
You know-
necessary or not?
I don't think so. I'm,
Mr. Chair.
unless I got some new information, I'm like, let the state do it, because it's gonna be one of those unfunded mandates that's gonna come down. That's the way I see it, but we have to have the meeting anyway, so.
Well, like some of them have done too, is that they've approved doing it provided that it's funded.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mike.
I'm wondering if we shouldn't get a word from our attorney, Mr. Kreiser, on this, just to maybe clarify a couple points for maybe yourself and on all of us together. And besides, he hasn't come up.
I haven't come up here yet, that's right. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Potter. At this point in time, I don't think we need to have John Kolb come down here. If it comes up during the meeting that we need his expertise, we can always have another meeting. But I want to say the deadline to notify the state is about
March 31st.
March 31st, yeah,
Final.
so we have time. So just looking at having an informational discussion to see kind of where we should maybe go.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
So I'm okay with it after the meeting on the 24th. So say 10:30, Lee, then, or what?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to schedule a committee of the whole to discuss buffer law for January 24th at 10:30.
Okay, motion by Potter,
Second?
second by Vetch. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we got a meeting on the 24th then. And then that, Lee, that will get posted on the web, because
Correct, yep.
there could be interested parties that would, for that. So. Okay, next on the agenda, schedule a disc assessment briefing.
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is kind of a thing I'd like to do with the board, as I have done also with my department, to kind of start the discussion, knowing we now have a new board member, and kind of continue our strategic planning discussions. I'd like to do the disc assessment with the board. Wanted to make sure I could get on your schedule well in advance when we do that debriefing. So I'm proposing that time to be the 28th of February at 1:15.
I'll make a motion to schedule the February 28th, 2017 for the debriefing meeting.
I'll second it.
1 second. So motion by Vetch, second by Delight, and I'm okay on that. Mike, are you all right too?
Sam.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, so 1:15 on the 28th. All right, and then next we had the item that I added on, the soil water planning session. We talked about this at the Soil Water Board last night. We would like to do either a February 8th or a February 9th, starting at 8:30, and talk about different issues as far as the water and soil health in the county. And it probably planned also to have a lunch after that, so. Does anyone have preference over the 8th or the 9th? I'm okay with either one.
I guess, Mr. Chair, my recommendation would be the 9th if we're doing it at 8:30 in the morning, just because the 8th would be committee day and
It
family
is
day.
committee day, okay, all right.
Other than that, I don't believe I have a conflict, so.
And they'd like to start at 8:30 out there if we can make that work here.
We're going with the 9th, February 9th at 8:30 a.m.
And this would be at the Law Enforcement Center in the, I don't know, they call it the community room or whatever it is there, yeah. So is there a motion for that?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to set a meeting with the Soil and Water Board for planning session on February 9th. That's a Thursday at 8:30 a.m. to meet at the LEC.
I'll second it.
Motion by Potter, second by Delida, and all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Okay. We're down to advisory committees. Who wants to lead it off?
Mr. Chair, I'll lead it off.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Thank you. Last week, met with they had the legislative kickoff day at the I-94 Coalition up in Monticello, and an excellent breakfast was catered by my fellow commissioners' endeavors on the other side there. We had a great panel of discussion.
Commissioner, let's Russell's on the lake, Commissioner Vetch.
Yeah.
On the other side. I just want to make sure
The
that,
other
no,
side.
I want to make
Yeah,
sure
other
nobody
side.
confused that I did the
really?
cooking.
If we want spaghetti, we
I
call
think you're a
Mark.
good cook, Mark.
I am for a couple of people.
Well, anyway, Mr. Chair, getting back to it, it was a good discussion with legislators. We even had Senator Scott Dibble from the Metro, who was DFL coming into the Lion's Den out here in Wright County. Made some good points. You know, people can agree, disagree, but I believe that their focus is on transportation this year, and the spirit of it appears to be that they want to get something accomplished this year, which is good for us, as we do have a shovel-ready project from St. Michael to Albertville that all we need is the legislature to act. A lot of good information and good way to kick off and well-attended. It was a room full of people, and that's what sets, when the legislators come out and they see a room full of people, that resonates with them. So it was a very good event, and a lot of good information was passed. And the I-94 Coalition has gone through the rebranding. I brought that before the board a month or so ago and let them know what the rebranding was to help for the next phase of getting funding and showing some of the successes and where we go from here. And that's all I have this week, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And Derek, do you want?
Friday last week, at just in the adjoining room to Commissioner Potter there next door, we had the Bertram Advisory Committee. Bertram had their final walkthrough for the chalet. Yep, things are looks pretty good. I think it's pretty much ready to move in next, the first week in February. I think, don't quote me, I think it's February 2nd. All the furniture should be in there, so the next month's advisory meeting will be actually out at the chalet.
On the 3rd, yep.
On the 3rd. They also discussed at length timelining the plaque out there, or signage for commemorating the acquisition of the land out there. No formal adoption of any kind of structure or signage yet, but it's in discussion.
Anything else?
Regarding that, there was a discussion also about, this is a partnership actually between Wright County and the city of Monticello. And then as part of that partnership, we also have the YMCA out there. And there was a discussion about things that they're going to be having out there this summer with swimming lessons, availability to the public, when the YMCA camp isn't going on, future things regarding canoeing and kayaking and a number of other things that will be available to the public out there. So it's a very unique application that's going on out there.
I went through on the chalet. I went through with the walkthrough with Mark. I mean, and it's nice.
Yeah, and that'll be available for the public to rent for weddings. It's right next to the open air amphitheater and stuff like that. So it's going to be kind of neat. And then I was unable to make it to the park meeting last night, but Commissioner Chair Burrell happily volunteered, so I'm hoping things went well there last night.
Yep, and I got a little late because I had soil water meeting early, and I actually left that a tad early to go out to the parks meeting, but yeah, everything went good. They did talk about the chalet, and then as far as the rental rate for it and the cleanup and whether it would be chaperoned or, not, and there'd be times when it could be and times when it couldn't, I guess, when you'd have an attendant around, somebody to let them in and stuff. The other thing that they mentioned at the park board, the software reservation that they have online right now that we just went to, that company sold out to a bigger company, and you probably know the name of it. It was one that they had looked at. It was way more expensive, so they went with the one that we have. Well, now they sold out to the big company anyway. So there was also some talk, though, that I think Three Rivers uses Vermont, so it's not like we're going to be locked in with them, but it might be that we start looking, because I'm sure I think we have a 3-year contract with the one that we have right now.
Well, we had a problem with the one we had.
Roll out a little bit.
Well, every year, on opening day for camp reservations, it would crash. And we told them this year that if that happened again, that we would, and actually,
It would be a reason to go
we
out the
were going to
contract.
be, we would be
Oh, okay.
canceling the contract. And we have it in the contract so that we won't be
Okay.
responsible. So it's interesting that they were purchased by the bigger company, so we'll see how that works this year.
And then it was also Ryan, our new board member, that he does do a lot of camping around, and he uses that Vermont system. He said that is actually the out of all the ones he said if he uses them, that's the most user-friendly one that's out there. So if you were going to go a different direction, that would be something you'd want to consider maybe. So it's really, I mean, I was impressed. I mean, it was really good. At first, I hadn't been to a parks meeting for probably 3 years, but it's very good members, good discussion on everything. Then we also had a little celebration for Jerry Durst, who was, I think, since 2000, something like that. So he's about
Been on there for a long time.
13-year run. So, and he was very good resource for sure. So.
So Commissioner Burrell, did they have like a conciseness of how they're feeling about whether it be having attendance versus non-attendance for the chalet? Is it they kind of leaning towards more often than not having somebody, or
As far, you mean?
as far as when it's
Rent?
rented out, having a staff
Oh,
member?
it would probably be, it just depends on the time. There's a lot of them that do this that are just not supervised. You just pick up the key, you go to the facility, you clean it up at the end, turn the key back in. And I think the talk was, though, no matter what, even if they clean it up, you still want to have one of our people go out, check, make sure it's all.
There's a damage deposit that'll be held.
Though they didn't want to do the damage deposit, though. They said it's too much. There would just be an understanding that if there was damage or things weren't cleaned, you'd be getting a bill after. They said it's too much messing around with damage deposit. It's too much paperwork and bureaucracy, so.
Well, if we have a credit card on file, then that would
You
be
would-
one thing.
It would, yeah,
As long as we'd have that, then you actually kind of have
yeah.
A
a
deposit,
damage
a way
deposit.
of reconciling.
Yeah.
I just be like, going forward, I'd be just more curious to know kind of how they adopt that policy, just what it ends up being in, more of a formal
Yeah,
policy.
okay. But that was talked about, and they said they'd rather do it on the other end, so. Okay, and then soil water. Talked about a lot of things, and we'll have the planning session, and I don't know if we'll have time, but on the One Watershed, One Plan, I know I brought it up last night, we're getting into the governance end of it, how this structure is going to look, how it's going to govern. And there were 3 kind of options that were put before us, and the one that seemed to be taking root the most was to actually use the crow. We have the crow Crow River Organization of Water that is the North and the South Fork right now, and to kind of use that body, the members from the North Fork, as the governance body, and then have like more of a technical panel made up of the soil water counties, and then also with there's 2 watershed districts in there, the North Fork system and the Middle Fork, to have a technical representative from them on each. It just, my concern was that we, as Wright County, the biggest landowner in the North Fork, we would be having, the 1 vote, and a commissioner up in Pope County that has a little sliver has a vote. But I just go back to the way the Crow has run over the years, and it's been very good. It's just, everybody they work to make that real fair, so I'm okay with that. But then when you get to the technical panel, now each county has a soil water representative. Again, Pope or some small county would have that as well. And then you add on a representative from the Middle Fork or the North Fork. So kind of the representation on that technical panel drifts away from Wright County. But I think the technical people will be more fair as far as just looking where is the best projects, where is this grant money going to be spent the best. So
You always want to start at the top and work your way down. To work your way up sometimes doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's what I think it's everywhere though. I mean, if I made the point, if we're making our lakes cleaner in all of these counties, we're making the Crow cleaner, we're making the Mississippi cleaner. So anyway, I think I can give you more updates, and maybe we'll actually have a meeting sometime just about that so that we can get into more detail. But it's coming pretty soon though, where we'll be looking to vote on that. So if anybody does have an input on it though, talk to me or whatever.
So is it only going to be just dealing with the Crow? I mean, they're not going to pull in like the Clearwater?
No, this is strictly the north, one watershed, one plan is the North Fork of the Crow River, the watershed from there. So Clearwater is out of it, and even the South Fork at this time. But the talk was if we use the Crow as a governance board, then when the South Fork gets established, the Crow, we'd have to keep separate books, but they could kind of be the management wing to both of it. So, I mean, we're unique that way that we have the Crow already established. Most watersheds like this do not have a structure like the Crow. So our thinking is let's use it, so, and I think it makes sense. So anyway, that was about it. We had township officers meeting, but I don't think there was anything real eventful there, was there? So, okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I
go
do
ahead.
want to note that Commissioner Burrell was virtually speechless there. It was rare. You usually have a lot to talk about, and that was
Township meeting?
I mean, he was.
Well, the only thing I mentioned there was the ditch, the right-of-way things for the ditch, and I think that's something that it's going to be pretty important to them, where you have utilities get put right outside of their right-of-way. Right now, they're not necessarily getting permitted by them. They need to come up with an ordinance to cover it. So I think they're township officers.
One that covers the townships besides everything else.
Yeah. So, anyway, okay. Anyone else have anything to come before the board? I think then we are adjourned we'll call that 9:59.